Hey, I'm Luke Nixon Jansen from Overland North.
Hi, everyone. I'm Trisha. I'm your host on 4x4 Canada podcast.
And I'm your other host, Wes. Welcome to the podcast once again, Luke. Appreciate you coming on board tonight.
Thanks for having me again. I'm excited. It's overdue. Lots of stuff to catch up on.
Definitely, for sure. So I do want to give a quick little shout out before we hop into this. I'm super excited to talk to you. I know you got lots of stuff on the go, but I do want to send out a message to all our listeners. As a lot of my brother went missing this week, or actually last week, I should say, and he was missing for 4 days. And luckily we did find him, but the support that we received from the four-wheel drive community was absolutely outstanding. Everything from on our Instagram, people sharing our story, to people sharing the story on Facebook as well. And Four-Wheel Drive Association of BC, that group on the Facebook, Terry Ann's post got a huge amount of shares all over Western Canada. And I really want to thank the Four-Wheel Drive community and our 4x4 Canada podcast listeners for reaching out there, sharing the information, asking how they can help out, and just sending personal thoughts that, hey, we're thinking about you, and if you need to talk, I'm here kind of idea. I had all kinds of messages that way. So I really want to thank the four-wheel drive community. That's what this whole community is all about. And we talk about the Overland community being an incredible community, and it goes all the way across the board. It's the Overland people. It's the 4x4 racers. It's rock crawlers. It is such a great community. I knew it beforehand, but when something like this happens and you get that kind of response, it to be honest with you, it was almost overwhelming. Friday, my brother was found Thursday evening late, and we posted about it on Friday on social media that he had been found. And I'll be flat out honest with you, I ended up turning my phone off on Friday because there is so much people reaching out. And no offense, people, and I eventually got back to most people. And if I did miss you, I totally apologize. It has been hectic. And like I say, the four-wheel drive community in Canada is incredible. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. My family really appreciates all the support that we were given over this last couple of weeks. Thank you. And you know what? He's found. I'm still looking for his Jeep. I'm going out again this week, and we're going to find his Jeep. He had about 3 days of memory loss, so we got a lot of trails to cover, but we'll find it. So let's get on to some good news. That was good news that we found him. But let's get on to some better news. Luke is back from Overland North, and Joel Tremblay was supposed to be up this week. And sorry, Joel, but Luke is bumping you, dude. And
please forgive me, Joel. Please forgive me.
The reason is behind that is you guys got an event coming up in a week or two, and we want to get this interview out there before the Overland North events. Joel is a wonderful supporter of the Overland North events. And so next week, we will have Joel Tremblay coming up. He's out of Northern Ontario, and he's running the Tacoma, and he's got a really cool built trailer. It's a cargo trailer that everything folds up nice and neat. So you can still use it as a cargo trailer. Folds all down. He's got his bed. He's got all this stuff. He's done a really neat job. And I think you guys were one of the guys that suggested he comes on to the podcast when you guys were on last year. And we finally got around to it.
Yeah, no, he's a great friend, really super talented guy. And it's cool. I think you'll love chatting with him. Just really talented architect by training. And it was part of his grade, I guess it was his university thesis, his master's or something. Yep. So the Chuck box. Really cool. It's interesting too, because now his family's expanding, right? And so he's realizing maybe this isn't the best piece of equipment for my needs now, as Jensen is now there and Jess and all that stuff. So yeah, you'll have a great chat with him. And it's funny, we were texting earlier today, so we'll have a bit of a laugh that this happened and that I gave him a bump. So it's cool. He's going to come to our event again on the 23rd and 24th coming up this month. He's going to get some great content, and it'll just be great to chat with him. We're chatting about some different stuff. He's very talented in terms of design, obviously, right? So we're just chatting about Overland North needs a trailer because Overland North puts a lot of stuff in a rented trailer all the time. And it's a lot of schlepping. Being an event producer, there's a lot of schlepping, right? So let's not do that anymore. Maybe we should have a trailer that's like a little purpose built, and it can be like an HQ at the events, and then it stores all our stuff too. So we're talking about a little collab as well, in terms of having a little fun, designing something, building something, getting some content. So sorry, Joel, Love you, buddy.
Having said that, his interview is going to be coming out on the 22nd then, because we're bumping it back a week. So that's going to be right before the event. So hopefully a lot of our listeners that are headed to your event have a chance to listen to the interview with Joel on the way to the event. So if you see Joel out there with his cargo trailer and his Tacoma, feel free to say hi. Super friendly guy. We had an excellent interview, great time with him.
Yeah.
And then after that, we've got Ben from Falcon in the Woods. He's another East Coaster. We've got a few things coming up, and it's really interesting. I'm working with some monster truck guys, trying to get some of that stuff happening. It's all about their dates and that. So we're trying to spread it out. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So, Luke, Overland North. Everybody we talk to that's in Ontario, we seem to talk about the Overland North events, and everybody absolutely loves them. And even some of the East Coasters, right? We've had some, people from other province coming to your events and supporting you.
Yeah.
And they're loving the events as well. So what the heck is Overland North for those people that have not heard?
Yeah, we love the support that we get from you guys and like people who come onto the show, talk about coming to our events and stuff like that. So Overland North, it started off as a community, and the founder, Christian Walsh, who was my college roommate, was really the driver behind it when it first started. And it came together just because of a gap within the Canadian market, or the Ontario market specifically, as it related to a community that was specific to overlanding. And during the pandemic, the three of us, Kevin, Christian, and I, came together and we beta tested sort of this little, I think we wanted an excuse to get together and hang out and have a couple pops. And from there, it went from 50 people and 30 trucks to where it is today, well over 100 trucks, well over hundreds of people now, vendors. We have 20 plus hours of sort of clinics and education. And the cool thing about the community, I think, within the Overland North space is it's really about connection and friendship and just sharing knowledge. And it's cool because it's not a new idea. Like overlanding is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time. And there's variations of what it is. And so I guess we spun it a little bit. And so since lots changed in the last 6 months at Overland North, like Christian and Kevin have stepped back from the business and left to pursue other interests and other business ventures that they have. And it was interesting because it was like a gut check for me. It was like the final person standing, and I had driven a lot of behind the scenes stuff and helped shape sort of Christian's vision and implemented it. And it was a gut check for me in the sense of, oh, do I still have it? Can I continue to do this? And how long is this going to last? And the cool thing was through that process, engaging with some key volunteers and some key supporters, and it made me realize like just how much I love the community and love the space. And I feel it's a philosophy on life in some ways, overlanding. They say it's about the journey, not the destination. And then just the friendships, like friendships along the way and the collaboration, the ideas with the likes of Mike from Red Bear or John and Dan from Beast, or just like the small business owners, and then working with brands and manufacturers. And so Overland North started out as a community, and really it's spun into a bunch of different things where now we're doing cool work. I'm sitting up in Muskoka at Deerhurst Resort, where Overland North's first event ever occurred. And now we're working with Mitsubishi Canada, taking out journalists, learning about overlanding and how to get out and explore the wilds, the hinterlands of Ontario. And that's the other thing too with overlanding. So we don't think of ourselves as a off-road club per se. I think overlanding transcends modes. So it can be 2 wheels, 4 wheels. It can be lifted, not lifted. It could be a van. It could be a schoolie. It's really just more getting out on the road, seeing the beautiful landscapes of Canada or wherever it is you live or choose to go, right? And so today, there's 3 of us from Overland North that are engaging with 12 travel writers over the next day, driving behind the wheel and taking photos and doing the things that a lot of people just love to do on the weekend or throughout the summer months or winter months. Yeah, so that's a little bit of Overland North. And it's any young business at 3 to 5 year mark, like you're in survival mode, like most small businesses, right? And as you're with the podcast, you and Trish, like, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of time, but it's rewarding, and that's you get off on that high and you have fun doing it. And yeah, so it's exciting. We have a lot of cool things happening. So that's a little bit about us.
We should throw out the socials before I totally forgot to mention that. So it's Overland NTH basically on all the social media, right? And then of course, Overland NTH is your website as well too.
Yeah, Overland
Yeah.
North and Overland.ca. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that you mentioned the community, and I even mentioned it earlier on in the conversation, but the community is what this is all about. And
Yeah.
go to these events and you see somebody driving a lift at Tacoma talking with somebody that's driving a Jeep, and right beside them is a guy that's driving a Subaru. And it's the bikes, it's a combination of everything. And that's really what these events are all about. But also, we had you and Christian on back in January 23. And one thing that really stuck out to me is you guys mentioned that this is more of a festival. It's not an expo. It's not a shindig. It's a true festival kind of idea, right? So
Yeah.
we've talked about the community, we've talked about the connection, but what else is going on there? What draws these people in besides the personal connection?
Yeah, so I think like the clinics are a big thing in the storytelling. I think that gives it that, that feel of they can walk away with some knowledge, they can learn something. We also have programming for kids. We're family friendly. I have young kids, right? I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old boy, so I want to get them enthused about the outdoors and learn about bushcraft or tindercraft or do arts and crafts using outdoor magazines. Like they're cutting out a taco or a Jeep and they put it in a mountain landscape and they got a fish or something. I want them to think about that. To even,
I want to do that.
I know, it
yeah,
sounds fun. Two
exactly.
adults do it too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, everyone's welcome to do it. Um, to even like this year, just having kids' activities, like even we're mixing it up and we have a bouncy castle for little kids. And that's more so I have a baby as a single dad. It's, oh my God, Mom, can you take my sons for a minute? I need to like go introduce someone or something. It's that stuff too. And then we do guided drives as well. Live music has always been a big component of it. Campfires, like just that connection around fire. It's just, I think it is part of our DNA, like from being cavemen, if you could say that. Like, I think it's just so, within us, cooking and the feast on the Saturday night. Like, there's nothing quite like as a species, like, we're the only ones that sit down and enjoy a meal together, right? So I think there's that aspect of food. We typically do like a surprise and delight, we would call it, on the Friday night. So we don't usually tell people that there's food activation, but Chef Miguel always seems to come up with something creative and surprise everyone. And we revel in a few non-alcoholic or alcoholic adult beverages and raise a glass and cheers everyone. And then the other thing that's really cool about the gathering too is we really want to educate people, and that's like cultural practices out in the bush as it relates to being steward of the environment, and how you, as a user group, sometimes you get a bad rap and there's misconceptions about it. So it's about making sure that as we grow the community and we welcome newcomers, and a lot of them are new Canadians, to be honest with you. They just understand some cultural practices on how to be a good steward in the wilds of Canada. And then the other cool thing is we bring in Chris Walker from Overland Training Canada and really tap into his expertise. You guys were at BCOR West, and
Yeah.
they do a great job out there, right? And he's just a pro. Like, he really is. And he's a good guy. And so we love bringing them out. So the second year we'll have them just to train people to get comfortable and get some confidence. We all started somewhere and we were all beginners.
Yep.
And so that building of confidence, I think, is really cool. So having that opportunity for folks in Ontario or Quebec to be able to engage with him and his team is really special too, right? So you mentioned about the vendor piece. We definitely love our vendors. We have deep relationships with them and we want to help get audience for them. But we want to give them the opportunity to also talk about and share the knowledge that they have. And so it also, when I think of John Dimitriakos, when I go to his shop, like, it's beast off-road, there's skulls everywhere. Like, I drive a Lexus, right? They like to chirp me. It's okay. It's all tongue in cheek, right? But if you're like a newcomer and you might have a Wrangler, right? And you might just have driven it off a lot, like rolling into that establishment is intimidating. But really, they're not intimidating. They're really good people. They're like family type folks. So it's like giving a platform too, right? To talk about their craft, like talk about what they're passionate about. And it's motorsports, it's mechanics. it's like promoting like good brands and doing good work. And so it's all that stuff, man. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're in the throes of, we're in the countdown now before we produce the 9th event. So it's pretty wild.
From everything I've heard, you guys do a great job, and everybody that I've talked to has come away with a positive experience on it. And I truly believe that it is a full festival. There's so much going on. You did mention Chris Walker, and for our listeners, I definitely recommend going back into, I believe it was last fall, we had an interview with Chris from Overland Nth in Canada, and he's a great guy. I've met him in person a few times, and my good friend Richard came out with him last year and did the training, and Richard has been wheeling since God was a boy kind of idea. So, the experience between these two guys is just absolutely incredible. And I like to think I've been wheeling forever, and I go out with these guys and I'm still learning stuff every single time I go out. Yeah. So if you guys can have an opportunity to take that course, I agree 100%. So Trisha, you did it last year. Last year was your first.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And Trisha will be coming back this year, guys. So if you see her wandering around, she is going to have a limited edition For Before Canada podcast shirt on, black with red lettering. So please come up, say hi to her. And I found that was one of the biggest things I found at the BCOR rally, is that I had my For Before Canada podcast shirt, and I told listeners, come up, say hi. We love talking to everybody. And I couldn't believe how many people actually came up and said hi, and we love the show. But also, we don't want you just to say, we love the show. We want to hear some constructive criticism, and who else would you like to listen to? How can we do better? And
I think you guys, Trish, you should set up a rig and just start doing podcasts from our show. We'll set up a little spot from you in a corner and just start doing interviews.
Like I just
Come on, yeah.
we got to figure out the technology on it, right? Yeah, we got to figure out the technology. So we can figure it out.
You got 2 weeks, Wes. Yeah, you got 2 weeks. You'll figure it out, man. It can't be that hard, right?
Trisha, it's gonna be fun, and I'm pretty sure Trisha's going to be going around and doing some interviews so that we can put them into our YouTube and our Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, if you guys see her, say hi to her, and she doesn't bite. So
we have space for you to participate again in one of Chris's classes if you're up to it.
Okay.
But this time it will be on a mountain in terms of a Ontario standard.
I know.
No, but true fact, highest publicly accessible mountain in Ontario.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. It's not high though. Don't Wes, don't laugh. It's 1,200 feet.
1,200.
1,200.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
1,200 for me to go downtown is more than 1,200.
You're hilarious. That's because great. you're on the top of Sunshine. That's why.
I know that lots of people are looking forward to this event. And Trisha, what was your thoughts going last year? That was your first time for an event like that.
And so, like Luke says, when you get in, it's like tons of rigs, tons of people, and yes, it could be like intimidating at first, just because there's so much people and so much cool rigs in the sense.
Yeah.
But everyone was so friendly, and a lot of people I do know just being within like the community here in Ontario. So like a lot of the vendors, like seeing Beast and those guys, and just seeing people I already knew was really cool, and just hanging out with them and just meeting new people and seeing cool rigs. It was just awesome. And then I did the Overland training. I even hit the teeter-totter and the seesaw with the Jeep. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was awesome. With Chris from Foible Parts, or I guess they're TFT now. So that was really cool. That was really fun.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. So I'm excited for this time around because I haven't been to Calabogie before.
Yeah.
And I'm planning to sign up for the trail day to do some wheeling.
Nice.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, totally. So it's interesting. Tasha McDonald she's up here at Deerhurst right now. And we were chatting. We just had dinner tonight. So she's helping support sort of the program that we're doing with Mitsubishi Canada. Mm-hmm. And we were chatting about the logistics on the team call today. So her and all the folks at Ottawa Valley Off-Roaders are doing the trail for off-roads piece. Yeah, so Tash will be one of those trail captains. You're in good hands. I don't know. Have you ever wheeled with Tash before?
No, I haven't. And
Oh,
like we've met like in person, we talk all the
yeah.
time on Instagram. So I
Yeah, yeah.
told her, like, hey, I'm coming up. Just like, okay, awesome. I'm putting you on a hard trail. I'm like, okay.
Okay. So be careful, because that's what she did to me, and I blew out the rear end of my Lexus.
Oh,
It was my fault it blew up, but
oh gosh.
yeah, all kidding aside, yeah, you'll love it. And for Eastern Ontario is this little hidden gem, right? And like
Mm,
Renfrew County, Lanark County, it's gorgeous. And I know it's a drive, I know it's a bit of a trek, but really, there's not a lot of traffic coming out this way
mhm.
from the GTA, and it's worth exploring. And it's really a hidden gem. And frankly, there's like hundreds of kilometers of Forest Service roads,
Yeah.
and there's tons of Crownland camping sites. It is the Highlands. Highlands. I saw someone made a comment on our Facebook page. They're like, Highlands, ha, and they were snickering. It's all those our West Coast friends. Hey, it's all good. Take what you can get, right? But it's cool. It's like rocky. It's cool woodlands, lots of rivers. The Madawaska River is a beautiful river, and there's cool mountains. There's cool vista, and yeah, it just seems like it goes forever. To be honest with you, in terms of the terrain. So you'll have a great time. I encourage everyone to come and explore it, because it's a big, vast wilderness, and it's not super busy like other places.
Mhm.
The Kawarthas are definitely better known, a little closer. Same with the Muskokas or Parry Sound area, Ardbeg, that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'll be in for a treat. I think you'll be totally blown away in terms of the terrain and just the overall like vibe of Renfrew County and Lanark County and just the Highlands of Ontario in general. So we can't wait to see you. I was really stoked to hear that you were coming. So
I'm so excited.
yeah, it's gonna be good.
So you guys have done some changes this year. One of them is going to
Yeah.
Calabogie, and
Yeah.
then the other is doing some date changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you actually had your what I call the airport run
Yeah.
here in the spring this year. So how did that go?
It went really well. It was cool. We did switch it up. You're totally right. So that it was really around dates and availability that
Yeah.
we ended up switching it up. At that time, Kevin, Christian, and I were just struggling to find a new home for the gathering. And we really liked Albion Hills. It was a cool location, close to GTA. It was a beautiful park, but it had some drawbacks to it. And we wanted to get a little more focused on the drive component of it. And that was one of the things that the Albion Hills location just didn't lend itself well to.
Yeah.
And so when looking for location, I live in Ottawa now, and Calabogie wasn't new to me in terms of just knowing what was out there. And I happen to know the owner of Calabogie Peaks Resort, having been in the hotel business for quite a while. And I made a call out to him, and the date that he had available was in August. So we made the decision to be like August and September, it would be too close, we thought, to have the two events. So we were like, let's maybe look at moving the rally and make it more of a rally in the sense of we would move on day two. We learned a lot with respect to that. We have to over communicate, because we as people like don't read that much, right? It's, oh, we're just going to the rally. I was chatting with one of our really big supporters, longtime attendee, Howard. Love this guy. He's a great guy. And we didn't even know that we're leaving on day two to go. This is so exciting. He was stoked. Him and his wife, Natalie, were so stoked. But it was cool in the sense that it was like a shakedown run, and we had a lot of people with trailers that attended the event. So it was fun in the sense that some of them were like maiden voyages for their setup and their kit. So they shook it down. It was a nice, easy overlanding Forest Service road with some interesting sort of water crossings. And shout out to Brian Halliwell, who helped us scout it. Brian runs the Bancroft Overland Club. Great guy. And the Haliburton Forest is like the largest privately managed forest in Ontario, and it's active logging operation, but it has a bunch of seasonal spots. And it was always interesting when you go into a new venue, you're like, oh gosh, what's this going to be like? It was logistically, it was challenging for our team, but they did a great job in terms of just the teardown and the setup. And there's opportunities along the way, like there always is. It was cool in the sense, though, that they have a beautiful logging museum there and a snowmobile museum. So it was like,
Cool.
so it was a cool venue for the dinner. And you got all these classic snowmobiles set up, and So it was cool. It was a really fun event. We capped it in terms of size because of the restrictions. I think with Halliburton Force, we didn't really want it. We didn't know how many people we could put on it. The weather was tough on day one, but it didn't deter anyone. We got through it, and then really it was fun. I think people had a good time with the drive and just, yeah, and then discovering a new part of they discovered a new trail and a new route. But then they also discovered Halliburton Forest if they hadn't been there before. And they do a really cool job over there. They got a lot going on with the Wolf Center and all sorts of different stuff. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun for sure. We switched it up and then it was interesting to move into August. I think August is an interesting month in the sense like it's pretty busy for people. Like they're wrapping up the dog days of summer, they have travel, maybe they're getting ready to get their kids back to school. So with change, you learn a little bit about your audience, you learn a little bit about like how pragmatic they are. And then you learn about, oh, is a 4-hour drive or a 6-hour drive,
Mhm.
is that a barrier? The thing that I was really excited about and am excited about with Calabogie is the train, and I really think people will love it when they come. But it's also the proximity to Quebec and engaging that community, really strong off-road community and overlanding community in Quebec. A lot of great clubs out there, closer to New Brunswick, and we have folks from New Brunswick that come. But then also there's a lot of people from sort of Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and it's a little bit closer up into Calabogie for those folks. And we do see those folks in our area quite a bit already. So that's the impetus for the date move and whatnot. And we'll see it. We'll see how it plays out. I think our numbers look strong. They look good. And we have a big push on right now in terms of campaign radio. And we really want to get that camper. To be honest with you, we want to introduce new people to the lifestyle and the community and break down the stigma of, I don't know, it might be too hardcore or whatever, because really it's not, right? To your point earlier, Wes, we've had a Porsche there, we've had a Schoolie there, I showed up in a BMW 5 Series. It was all-wheel drive, though, just for the record. Yeah, I get made fun of a little bit for that one, but it is what it is. Yeah,
that's
so
one
that was
thing
the
about the
big change.
overland community is that it can be whatever you got. And I mean,
Totally.
we've all seen the photos of that Ferrari with rooftop tent going up the Dempster Highway and up to Tuktoyaktuk and stuff like that. It can be everything from a Ferrari to a Datsun 510 or everything right up to a totally built Tacoma or a Jeep. And it's everything in between. And I think overlanding is not just the 4x4 crowd anymore. It's the mountain bikers that don't want to go back to the hotel. It's the people that they've got a Subaru Forester and they want to go a little farther than what they normally do or stuff like that. They don't feel like camping on the ground and it's not just rooftop tent people either. That's the big thing too.
That's so true. It's funny. I've been doing some work at Calabogie because of obviously in prep for the event, but there was an orienteering group, like the North American Orienteering Championship at Calabogie Peaks Resort. And it was just filled with ground tenters. And then there was a bunch of rooftop tenters. And then there was pulling a teardrop or that sort of stuff. And I was like, they're overlanders. They're running around getting waypoints with a map and a compass, but really they got there overland and they want to connect with the bush and navigate and they love to run, but they want to run with the purpose now. So anyways, it just shows that it transcends subculture, right? It's a mountain biker, it's a mountaineer, it's whatever. Yeah. So it's
I do want to give a shout out to Mike and the crew at Red Bear. To anybody that's listening, they do offer rentals.
Yeah.
I know you've got lots of other vendors at the event as well, but I know that for sure Mike and the guys at Red Bear, they do offer rentals of whether it be a rooftop tent or pretty much everything that they sell. And I know, Trisha, you've talked a bit about renting some stuff before you look at buying. And that's
so I reached out to Mike. I reached out to them and I have some gear to pick up from them before the event. So that's gonna be cool. I will be ground tenting, but
that's cool.
I'll have my little setup going on, so I'm excited. So I was able to rent some stuff. I got fridge and gazebo, gazelle tent, and some other stuff just to help me out for the weekend. So yeah, I'm excited. It'll be fun. But yeah, thanks to those guys at Red Bear.
Speaking of that, we've been alluding to this charity build for a while. And I'm really excited about this. Like, we can finally talk about it. We've confirmed and taken possession of a brand new 2024 Chevy Colorado Bison ZR2. So GM Canada donated it for the cause. They donated the truck, and we've partnered with Wounded Warriors Canada to raffle off the truck. Big shout out to GM Canada for their support. And then Red Bear stepped up. Overland Canada has stepped up. Action Car and Truck has stepped up. ORO has stepped up. And we're going to upfit this truck. And we're doing it on Friday on this week. So in time for the gathering. So we'll have the unveiling at the event, and tickets will be going on soon. We'll hit you guys up when we go live with the ticket sales. So yeah, so it's really cool. Thinking of Mike and all the folks that are behind this build, it's exciting to finally be able to announce that we've partnered with Wounded Warriors Canada, and we were going to help raise money to support mental health and supports for families and kids, like Warrior Camp and that sort of stuff. So we're really excited about that work, and really excited to share the build itself and what the project's going to look like. It's a great platform, to be honest with you. I had a chance to take it up the mountain and take some pictures and check it out. I still love my Lexus, just for the record. But I don't know. I'll have to get my mom or my dad to buy tickets or something. I don't know if that's going to look bad if they end up winning it or something. Yeah.
I got two questions for you on that, Luke.
Yeah.
When tickets become available, is this something that we're going to be able to purchase online? So say people in BC or New Brunswick can purchase online. And then following up to that, what is Wounded Warriors all about? Is the second question on that one.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so first part, to answer your first part. So yes, you can purchase them online. The sad part, it's only for residents of Ontario for this year's charity build. It was our first crack at this. And Wounded Warriors is a national charity, so we can do it in other provinces for sure. But it is only available for residents of Ontario. And a little bit about Wounded Warriors. Wounded Warriors is a national charity that helps support families of retired Canadian Armed Forces or your sort of everyday heroes, police. And really their focus is around programming for mental health and supports around mental health, be it PTSD, trauma-informed therapies, as well as supports and services for perhaps children who have lost a parent in service to the public or to the country. And this was way back from day one. It was really something that was recognized by Christian, Kevin, myself, Mike, the roundtable back then, that our audience and our sort of community was represented by a lot of retired Canadian Armed Forces members, as well as like paramedics, firefighters, and police. And we wanted to have a charity of choice that sort of served the community and did work to help support that community, and specifically around mental health. And we wanted our community is male dominated. It's probably like a 70-30 split, and we're seeing the female representation grow. But we wanted to be a voice within the community to talk about mental health, and that it's not mental illness, it's mental health, and that we all have our connection to it and we have our struggle with it, myself included. And that we wanted to give back in our way, in our small way, and with our partners to come together and see if we can raise some money. And we had done some work with General Motors Canada back last year around the time of the Stampede. And we met them when we were at the Toronto Sportsman Show. And they're great guys there. George, shout out to George and his team. And they were just learning about overlanding. And in early days, I pitched them on this idea. And it took us 8 months to get to where we are. I would say it was a test of my mental health in a way, because it was some false starts. So shout out to my partners, Mike from Red Bear specifically, and Vito and Sean and a bunch of other folks, and Amy from Action. You think it's supposed to go easy and supposed to be really linear, but there's like a lot of steps that along the way that, like, when you're in a little speedboat in a small business, you're like, it's just like this. And when you're dealing with an ocean liner like General Motors, it's not like that as much, but which is fine. Yeah. It's a learning for me as much as anything. So we're really stoked about that. And we think Wounded Warriors is a really great partner. Steve Topham is our contact there, and he's the director of national partnerships. And The goal is this. We want to raise over $100,000 and we want to grow this into a national program. And we want it to be something that we can do each year to continue to bring awareness around mental health. I know, Wes, we chatted about this the first time we were on the podcast, man, and we talked about it again. And so it touches my life, your life, and a lot of the lives out there. And so if we can do our small part, and if our community comes together and it's something that I can help do out of my passion for it and through the community that I've been blessed to be a part of, then I want to do it. So more details to come in terms of like when tickets will go on sale and be available. The unveiling, we're upfitting it. I did a little teaser post yesterday or today on our stories. I can't remember. Everything's a sort of bit of a whirlwind right now. But Friday we're going to go down to Toronto and we're going to start upfitting the build itself and make a really good looking truck even better looking.
Awesome.
So
I know, Tricia, when you're at the event, we definitely want to get some good footage of that and help promote that as much as we can. I know Tricia will be taking video and maybe have a chance to talk with you or somebody from Wounded Warrior Canada at the event.
Yeah,
definitely help out promote as much as we can for you guys. So it is a wonderful cause.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. And like to the Western audience, Wounded Warriors operates out of Vancouver and out of Alberta too. So I got a call with my friends at GM Canada on Friday too. So we're already thinking about 2025.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking about 2025, I know it's coming up. I know events are planning 6 months to a year in advance. What else you got in to go that you can release? Is there going to be a winter event again?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's a great question. Yes, nothing to really announce. One of the things we're talking about right now as a group is like, we want to get in. The experience economy is really interesting, right? You get a lot of people I was just talking to someone the other day who had a rooftop tent. She had a Go Overland rooftop tent. And I was like, oh, do you go off-roading? And she's, no, I'd never do that. This is just a Subaru. I'm scared to do something like that. And one of the things, we've been talking a lot about is the festival is great. We love the gathering and the rally are amazing. But how can we create sort of unique experience-based events that are smaller in nature, that are higher touch? And so we're designing some stuff right now in collaboration with some other partners where we think we can give a unique experience. And I believe it's a travel product, like what we're producing. We're in an experience-based economy now. It's about bringing a collective of people together and curating an event that is memorable, where they don't have to think about maybe doing all the packing, a culinary component to it. So sticking with the format, but not trying to go broad with 100 people. Maybe it's 25 people. And then it can be a little more expedition-like as well. So it's pushing maybe the capabilities of the people that are attending, and they want to have that insurance of experience and who it is they're going with, and how we can leverage our ambassadors and our staff to who have that experience to support them. But yeah, so we have there's a really interesting partner that we're chatting to in Quebec right now about utilizing a piece of their property for a winter event. Stay tuned on that. And then we're still, we're doing an evaluation on, do we go to one event or do we go to just keep the 2 events? We've talking to partners out in other provinces and going, should we expand into those provinces? What does that look like? We continue to have our relationship with Master Promotions, which was actually just recently purchased. So the Toronto Sportsman Show and the Ottawa Boat Show was just purchased. So we're having ongoing chats with them. So there's a lot of irons in the fire. The other thing is looking at how it is we've been approached by brands to do more brand stuff, which is cool, but I don't know if it's the right fit at our festival in terms of curating those experiences there, like with influencers and media and stuff like that. So we're going to explore more of that and try to further develop those partnerships with them. And again, it's like that expedition and introducing and growing the audience, right? There's the traditional audience. There's the hardcores, right? It's funny. I just learned this the other day, Wes. Back in the day at Calabogie Peaks Resort in the 80s, they used to have a big mud bog race there. And I was like,
Yeah.
sorry, what? Like, where are the photos of that? And now I'm trying to get my hands on the photos of this. They built a big mud pit and they just went full send with probably 350 small blocks, right? Just going for
Yeah.
it, like monster trucks. So it's interesting. And I know you cover a lot of this stuff. You get the old timers on the pod, right? And like, it's funny. You start asking the questions, what you learn, right? So it's maybe, I was like, maybe we need to dig a hole and just have a big mud fest. So we're exploring a lot of different ideas, and our group is going to regroup like after following the event and
Oh yeah.
really lay it out and then do some announcements in the fall.
And I appreciate there's a lot of stuff you can't really talk about, right, until you get signatures and all that other stuff. But
Oh,
as soon as you should have seen Trisha's eyes light up when you said mud.
I know. I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Well,
a mud girl.
I have to say, I literally have to say, the owner, when I heard this story, the owner of Calabogie Peaks Resort, I said, you have a backhoe. Can we just make a big hole? And he's, no, because I don't know where everything's buried anymore. Then I was like, okay, what does that mean? But
We're talking
it
about
would be
bodies or what?
yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Bodies,
Yeah, that's what I said. No, it trucks. It could be equipment. I don't know. Electrical. I don't know.
TV, who knows?
Yeah, so we had a laugh about that, but it was also like I reached out to the Ontario Federation of Motorcycles, and like they don't have a hill climb anymore. And so I was like, oh, should we do a hill climb? Can we get a sanctioned motorcycle hill climb? Just different stuff like that. We're really specifically because we've entered into a long-term agreement with Calabogie Peaks Resort in terms of working together and hosting there. And so because of the topography there and the access to terrain and the open-mindedness of the ownership group there, we're exploring different ideas. They host an amazing motorcycle event there. The KTM rally just happened there, which was, and it's another form of overlanding. Let's face it, when an adventure motorcycle is that. And it was just so cool to see so many riders. Like, how can you bring, what does that look like? And can we do more of a navigational rally that's timed? It's not about going fast, but it's timed. And it was cool. The Rebel Rally happened out west for the first time, which was super cool. That's a really cool concept and event, female only, knowledge-based, skills development. But yeah, so we're having a bunch of conversations about that right now too. So it's unique. Like, how do we create unique experiences? And I think that's where we're going to focus in 2025, and not to say eliminate properties in terms of festivals, but maybe add and further develop out the offerings.
When you're going on the trails here, you're always running into ATVs.
You're running them. Yeah.
You're with them. You're out saying hi, you're chatting, letting them go by. You guys are hanging out, and you meet so many people on the trail. They're ATVs. You meet sometimes dirt bikes as well.
Yeah.
But they're part of our community, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's
So
interesting
that'd be
because
cool.
yeah, totally. It's interesting. This one time we were running Levant, and it was funny. A couple side-by-sides came up behind us, and we were like, guys, you can just go. They're so much faster, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. These they were Can-Ams. It was ridiculous. I was so impressed. I would love to drive one. I haven't driven one yet. And we're like, please go ahead. And they were like, no, we don't want to go ahead of you. We want to watch you actually do this, because
all the
we're floored
time.
that you can actually do it. And like, you come this deep. So it was like, it was a lot of fun. And we actually ran that trail with them, and we had lunch with them at the top of the mountain. And so to your point, Trish, it doesn't have to be segregated, right? Like, it can be, it really,
be together.
to be together. And it's just the mode of it's a little bit different, but
yeah, it happens all the time. I always, hey, you guys are gonna go through that mud hole, because we're gonna watch you guys, and just watching them just waist deep in this mud and going through and watching them. They have their little like winches and winching them out, and it's cool. And they're like, yeah, I want to see you guys rock climb. So we rock climb, and it's just fun. Yeah, I could totally get it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Now you're a bike guy too, aren't you, Luke?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. So I have a few different bikes. I grew up on bikes. I would say I first got into road trips on bikes. Like, when I was, my dad was a Harley guy. So he had a club, and I was raised around that. My grandfather in the 50s was part of the Thames Valley Ramblers. And so I have pictures of my grandparents in the 50s dressed up back then and riding Harleys. Yeah, so I'm a bike guy. I've had a bike since I was 4. And so I quickly hit the rain barrel and fell 1 second into my first ride. I remember it. It was funny. And then the next minute I was in a cedar hedge, and that was funny. But yeah, I love bikes. So I have a DRZ 400. That's what I ride on dirt. And I've taken it to Virginia twice now, which is a pretty long ride. I went down to Overland Expo last year on it. It's a great bike. It's an amazing bike. I enjoy it. I drive it in Calabogie quite a bit. There's some wicked single track and Forest Service Road stuff. And then I have a 97 Heritage Softail Harley Davidson. So I have that as well. But yeah, so I'm a bike guy, and I like, my dad's a bike guy, so we like to go together, and we haven't done it enough lately. But my first really cool moto trip, I was 9 years old on the back of my dad's Ultra Glide Electric Classic. And we left from London, Ontario. We're 2 weeks on the road, and we went to Disney World. He took me to Disney World and we camped at KOA's. And that's what I think it was so cool. So I fell in love with the road then. And yeah, so I was always raised around bikes. So Don is my dad, and he's a character. He's at Overland events.
So I've hung out with your dad last time. Okay. Yeah, for a good few hours around the campfire with some of the Overland Nth volunteers there that I know. And then we hung out, we drank, we walked around, we went to the zoo. He dropped them off at someone's site. They're watching a movie on a big screen. We told them we're going to come pick him up. We couldn't find him. So it was great.
That sounds like Don. Sounds like that. Yeah, he's a character.
Such a cool guy.
Yeah. Are you into bikes, Wes? Or Trish? Have you guys ever been on bike?
Yes. So, this is my third. This will be my third summer, I think, with it. Second or third summer. I don't ride during the summer anymore because last summer I got a heat stroke.
Oh gosh.
It's all the gear that I wore, but the weather is getting better now, so I'm like, I got it ready. It's ready to go. So I'm going to get back on. But yeah, it's fairly new for me, and I might be getting into street bike because my partner rides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Last time I rode a bike, I was probably 18 years old, and I was coming along a gravel road, had a friend's place, and there's a 90-degree turn, and I did not start braking soon enough, and I just went straight through. I knew I was going to hit this barbed wire fence, so I laid it down. I was in shorts and t-shirt, of course. I laid it down on the gravel road, and then I hit that barbed wire fence. And yeah, I had road rash. They had to cut the barbed wire, and then they left the barbed wire strands in my leg as they took me down to the hospital because they didn't want to pull the barbed wire out of my legs because they figured I'd bleed to death. And that was probably one of the last times I rode a dirt bike.
Gear you have, yeah. Shirts and t-shirts, no.
I understand why.
Off-road racing, basically, we go as fast as we can until we see God, and then we hit the brakes. And I just happen to see God a little too late.
Yeah, fair.
There's something about a roll cage around me, right? I just prefer that.
Yeah, prefer that.
Although I think we've got Trisha hooked on the idea of off-road lawnmowers, so we're going to have those guys. Yeah, there's a group of guys out here in BC that build up lawnmowers and go off-roading with them. So
yeah,
we're going to have them on the show. Them. Yeah.
They look pretty badass. I want to listen to that episode because I want to know all the mods that they do and the models that they mod up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I can't wait to get those guys on for sure.
Yeah, that's hilarious. They're Overlanders.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think I've seen them like have fully kitted like camp setups with them, and they're like going off road and going camping and stuff. Like
in a lawnmower. That's gonna be wicked.
Yeah, with a lawnmower, dude. Hey man, whatever works as long as it gets you there.
Exactly. I really want to know the story behind how they started. Were they sitting there drinking beer and I bet I can get through that ditch between my lawn and the road, or what started all that? So I'm pretty sure there's beer involved.
I would imagine. I would imagine there's a shop. It's someone's dad's beer fridge in like a high school shop class, like building a Briggs and Stratton or something, and going, I bet you pumped a bigger carburetor on it or something. That's funny.
Yeah, looking forward to having those guys on for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to your vehicle. I think you said it like maybe 4 times in this episode. You love your Lexus.
I do.
And you're wheeling that, no?
Yeah, I wheel it. Yeah,
Tell
I
us
wheel
about
it.
it.
Yeah, so it's '04 GX 470. I named it Lexi a while ago. She's pretty stock. I put an Ibach lift on it. Then I have Nokian Outposts NATs on it. Put it to Nokian. Great tire, actually, really great tire. And then it's my daily. It is my daily. It has 330,000 Ks on it. It still purrs. It's gone from a 4x4 to a 3x4 twice now. So I need to drop my diff a little bit, my front diff, and put some new upper control arms on it because it's just the angle's a little wrong on it right now. But it's a super fun vehicle. It's spacious. My kids and I go out camping and use it regularly. We go fishing and all that stuff. It has good cargo capacity. Lots of power. Like it's obviously 4.7 liter V8. I like the look of it. It's basically a Prado, so it's got a cool look. Lots of opportunities to modify it. There's talk right now about I've been invited to be a part of a drive team to do a rally that will start in Budapest and finish in the Ivory Coast. So that's in 2026. So the idea is to put Lexi in a container and send her to Belgium and then use her to do that trip because of it's a Toyota. And so when we need parts, there'll be a lot of it. Yes, everyday driver, reliable. Even when it breaks, it still seems to go. Like I've broken the CV axle twice, and literally I've just pulled it out. Like the sort of tail stalks was still stuck into the transfer case. And I just broke it right off and it still drives. I've beaten it up pretty good. She's been beaten up a little bit, but overall it's a fun rig to drive. And my Jeep friends give me a bit of a hard time. Tash will give me a bit of a hard time or some others, but I think they're always a little bit surprised when they see just how capable
It is.
it is. And really, I think it's a lot of saddle time. The more times you're driving and you understand just how to bump it and throttle and the line to pick, it's really picking the right line. If you pick the right line, you'll get through things. And if you go slow and let the truck do the work, yeah. So that's my rig. It's got a cool wrap on it. It's got a moose and a loon, and Jason Office designed it for me, which is super cool. Shout out to Jason. Yeah, he's done a lot of cool design work. He's a great designer, good friend. And so he helped design it. I gave him the inspo and then he did all the work. And the Wrap Doctor put it on. So shout out to Kyle at the Wrap Doctor, Ottawa business. So that was it was fun to come to see that come to life. So we'll do more mods on it. Like now, you'll like this, Wes. This is a classic that I'm about to put on the road. My grandfather, he always had a Cadillac, my grandfather. Like to him, he grew up in New Brunswick and he made it. He got out of New Brunswick and ended up in London, Ontario, of all places. And he always got a Cadillac, like classic businessman of the 50s. So when he passed, he had a Cadillac. And so my dad had it and it was just sitting there. And it's a 1995 Cadillac STS.
Nice.
And yeah, so I've just put it back on the road because Lexi's a little hard on gas. Now, I'm not sure if the STS is going to be any better.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. But
it's going to be fun to drive, though.
It's going to be fun to drive. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'll be rolling in a caddy.
You're rolling the caddy.
Yeah, I'll be rolling in a caddy. Everyone's telling me I should be putting spinner rims on it, but
yeah, oh my god. Imagine just rolling into one of the Overland events in it.
So it's funny you say that, Trish, because it's coming up to Overland North to the gathering. So
it is? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's being delivered.
Nice.
So yeah.
The thing needs a rooftop tent on it, right?
That's a good idea. I think that's a great idea. We should do. I don't think I've ever seen a Cadillac STS with a rooftop tent. So I think we're overdue.
There's a reason for that, though.
It could be. There could be, for sure.
Oh,
That's a cool car,
hilarious.
though. I have to admit that. Yeah, I'd rock that for sure.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been cool to watch your podcast and the characters that you've been able to bring on and the leadership that you've shown in the space and just getting the voices out there and the stories. And it's just cool. I think it's cool to watch it grow and develop. And it's just been fun to chat with you guys. And Wes, you got to come east, man. I know you're on the best coast, but
I got to get back there for sure. And like I say, I was out there for 10 years and I got a lot of friends out there and they keep on bugging me to come back. So I think I got to work it around, do a 2-weekend thing where I go to one of the off-road races one weekend with the guys and go to an Overland North event the next weekend, or even just hit you guys up and go do some wheeling.
Let's just wheel. Let's come to Calabogie and wheel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Trisha would make the trip for me. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get back out there. And I don't think it's going to happen this year, just with everything going on. But that is one of my plans, is to head out to Ontario next year. So
yeah, when I come out west, I'll definitely hit you up. It's been a minute since I've been to Kamloops. So
yeah.
So,
yeah, you're overdue as well.
I am overdue, man. I am. I don't know. Do you want to meet on Vancouver Island? How's that sound? I love Vancouver Island, though.
Vancouver Island is great. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. There's so many great spots here in the West Coast for sure. So, mind you, so many spots around this wonderful country of ours. And that's one of the questions I do have for you, though, is if you could go explore anywhere in the country, where would you go?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, it's everywhere I haven't been. No, you know what? I think I'm fascinated with the Yukon. I have not been to the Yukon before. And I really enjoy watching Jim Baird and his adventures. I love to fish. My boys are really into fishing, and watching Jim and his family on YouTube and just the stuff, like the trips he does. And he's just crazy. He's such a good whitewater paddler and fisherman and just bushcrafter. And so he just goes to Yukon all the time, it seems like. So I think fascinated by it. And I think that's definitely one spot I would love to go. And the cool thing is, when you overland, you have to go through all the other cool spots to get there along the way. Yeah, so I think I'd be really fascinated with that. And then we even continue up into Alaska. I've been to a lot of states, but I've never been to Alaska. And I think that would be a pretty special trip.
I agree 100%. Alaska, do go up to Tuck and do the up to Tuck, head up that way, and even Whitehorse and all those other. Just to me, it's just absolute. It's something totally different. Yeah,
I think I fell in love with the idea of Alaska with the whole Into the Wild book by John Krakauer, right? And I think a lot of people might have, right? And then the movie came out, and I think I've always been, that's the allure of the mountains, man. If you're an East Coaster, speaking of the legend, Don Trish, my dad, he went to BCIT and he drove across Canada on his Harley. So it was like in 72. So I always was fascinated by the mountains and the West Coast and just the vast vistas and those ranges and stuff. Yeah, I think all those factors, I lived on the West Coast a couple times now, and I never found the time, which is crazy to think this, right? You don't have the time to actually go north, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. You live in Kamloops, man. And I don't know. Your life gets busy, right? And it's, oh shit, I just got to make the time to go to these places. And I think life is precious. It's making the time. And I think for me, Yukon, Alaska would be like right up there.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And I definitely understand where you're coming from on that one for sure. And I also know about the time, right? I'd love to hit the Kootenays, and there's only 3 to 5 hour drive away, but I never seem to get the chance to. So it's one of those things you've got to make time and do it. So
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%.
Cool.
Trisha, do you want to ask the last question?
This time around, what Canadian would you like to hear on our 4x4 Canada podcast?
Oh,
no, we had a few. We have a lot of good people, great people on.
I know. Jeez.
Don't say Joel Tremblay.
Yeah, you already got him. You already got him, man. I I think it'd be cool. Have you reached out to Jim Baird? Like we were talking about him, man. And I think he's done some really cool trips, and he's connected with OGT and all that stuff. And I know you talked to Nick, like who's a good friend of mine who's with OGT now, Bucky, right?
Yep.
Bucky. I think Jim would be great. I think it would be cool for folks to learn about Jim if they don't know who he is and if they don't follow him. And I've reached out to him. We were going to have him at Overland North, but we had a scheduling conflict because he was in the Yukon again. He's always in the Yukon, it seems, even though he lives like literally 4 hours away from where I live. but I think he would be really cool because he's seen a ton of country and he's overlanded a ton. And then he brings that element of being a dad, being the outdoorsman, bushcrafter, fisherman, all that sort of stuff. So I think that would be a cool score, I think, for you guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna hit him up because I like to say I've watched a lot of his stuff as well, and it's interesting how he brings it all together. I think a lot of our listeners can relate to him when it comes to the family stuff. A lot of their listeners have family, and they can relate to wanting to get their kids out and doing the same stuff that they're doing and learning all about bushcraft or shit fishing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of our listeners will be able to relate to that for sure.
Totally. The cool thing about Jim and Tori, like their son has special needs, right? And I think what Wesley has special needs, and what's really inspiring to me as a young dad with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old is they had a cool lifestyle that they were able to maintain, and that actually had such a huge benefit on their son, on Wesley, right? And that they didn't allow that to somehow prevent them from doing something. So it's a good inspirational story, and they're good like just role models and on how to persevere and find strength in connecting to the wilderness and doing what it is you love, not giving it up because of a so-called whatever setback or disability, whatever you want to call it, right? It was more like, no, this is our life, this is reality, and we're going to be stronger for it. And I think that's so inspiring to me. That's the lesson I actually derive when I have my kids watch their episodes. They love it. They're like, we got to watch Jim. We got to watch Jim. So it's super cool. So that would be really cool.
I think it's a great idea for sure. Once again, we are talking with Luke from Overland North, and they got their next event coming up, Calabogie, on the 23rd, 24th. Correct, Luke?
That's correct, man.
Cool. And so how can people find out more about your event, and how do they purchase tickets, and how do they make this happen?
Yeah, check us out online, www.overlandnorth.ca, Overland North, overlandnth.ca. Right there, you just click buy tickets, click on the gathering, learn more about what's happening. Yeah, and there's lots of different types of passes. You can just get a day pass, you can get a weekend pass, you can camp just for one night or 2 nights. You can get a guided trail experience, you can do a 3-hour overland training experience from Overland Training Canada. Choose your own adventure is what we say.
Yeah.
There's lots of fun. It's family friendly. Yeah. And we would love to welcome people and learn about overlanding and off-roading and be a part of the community.
And I think one of the things that we should probably finish up with this on is a shout out to all your volunteers. You guys have a huge amount of volunteers, and without them, an event like this would not be possible. So they're the true people that make this event happen. So huge shout out to all your volunteers.
Yeah. Thank you, Wes, for bringing that up. Yeah, it's true. It takes a village, man. And our village is super strong and incredible. We just had a call tonight, and just seeing it all to come together and seeing the passion and the ownership and the enthusiasm. And it's because they love the community. They want to produce a great event. They want to grow the community, and they're just eager to help, be a part of something.
No, that's awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
So once again, definitely. No, they're a huge and critical part of your organization for sure. So once again, guys, when you're at the event, give a shout out to the volunteers. Let them know that you appreciate them volunteering and you appreciate them being there, because believe it or not, that does make a difference when you hear that from a total stranger. I've been on the side of volunteering, and I know when I've been thanked by somebody, Joe Blow, that's walking through the gate, when I've been thanked for helping volunteer, it does make it even that much better. Don't be afraid to thank those volunteers out. And also, when you're out there, check out the Wounded Warriors charity build, that brand new Chevrolet And it's going to be exciting to see what happens with that too, for sure. So
Mhm.
once again,
Yeah.
Luke, appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a slice as always. And I can't wait to hear Trisha's stories of the event.
Cool. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Sorry, my camera died halfway through.
All good.
Okay.
It's the theme of the night, technical difficulties, but it's all good. It was awesome seeing you guys. I can't wait to see you, Trish, in a couple weeks. And yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
it's
the
been awesome.
opportunity. And we'll chat soon. Be
You
well.
bet. Appreciate it.
See you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Appreciate it. Thank you.